Welcome to today as we take a fresh look at desire, which I think needs its own soundtrack. And I'm thinking of Desire in the Sandman series. Does anybody see Desire? Oh my, what a character. If you haven't, I recommend it. This exploration was sparked by something that I said, which apparently really intrigued Kate, about being all in with life, about being all in with something, but all in with life. What does that even mean? As I've been reflecting on that, and as I've been thinking about desire, I noticed that I grew up with a lot of conflicting feelings about desire. As I grew up with a fundamentalist Christian understanding, and desire was somehow bad. Like wanting something was going to turn me into an evil, wicked sinner. So I had a lot of mixed feelings about desire. And also, as a human, as a person, a lot of experiences of desire, things that I just really wanted to have. And the way that I'm coming to see desire is that it isn't about getting a thing. Desire is the way that life whispers to us, draws us to what we're asking for, even if we don't know that we're asking for it. Desire is creative. And when you experience desire that doesn't have attachment or expectations, it feels really lovely. It is fulfilling in itself. There isn't anything missing. So unlike the kind of desire that made me feel like I needed something outside of myself to be okay, desire is the aliveness of life inviting me to create. Like a small child that sees something it wants and reaches for it, that looks at its little fingers and toes and wiggles them and wonders, what could I do with this? I want to try something. And whether they succeed or not in grasping for that thing that they're looking for, they get to experience the aliveness of desire. And for me, being all in with something means that I'm showing up with everything in my experience. And that includes the desire. I'm letting it take me. I'm letting life have its way with me. But I'm also acknowledging the feelings that I might not prefer, the ones that I might say I don't want. And I'm in it. I'm not resisting it. I'm not avoiding it. There's something about going all in with life that to me speaks of the kind of surrender that lets me be used for something greater than my personal gain and my personal experience, but that includes my personal enjoyment. It's not about me either. Like, what if all of the things that I desire are equally beautiful? Whether that's boatloads of money, or a warm cup of tea, or a hug from a friend. What if every desire is creative and something for me, a gift for me and for the world to allow myself to experience? That's kind of how it's looking today, which was probably a little different than when we spoke about it last time. And I want to ask Tom, because I actually have a lot of this exploration has come through conversations with Tom about
Really?
desire. Yeah, well, we talked about this. You've forgotten already?
No, I haven't forgotten anything. Um, well, was there anything particular that you remember that,
You talking about something I saw when we were talking about, oh yeah, desire as you feel it, it's complete.
oh, okay, yeah. Well, it's that, yeah, I remember us talking about that and it, it's kind of sort of plays into the principles too, in a way. When, I mean, and it feels kind of radical in some ways to say it that, like we hear a lot, like we're experiencing life through thought and through our thinking, right? Like how many times have we heard that? And do we really know what that is? Or do we think we know what that is? I think we probably all know a little bit of that. But to go really, to use your other metaphor, all in on that, like really. So so this is a little, maybe a little aside, but it's just what comes to mind. And then maybe I'll get to to the part that you were talking about. But I was thinking about 5 years ago when my mom was really sick and we knew that she was going to die soon, and we were all around her, and it was actually a really lovely time, family time with her. It was really beautiful. Um, and when she had passed away and I was back, most of my family lives on the East Coast of the States. I'm on the West Coast. And we weren't really all that in touch. Like we didn't have any kind of like, as far as I know, like open family conflict. Maybe there was that I wasn't aware of, but we just weren't that much in touch, you know. And after I got back, I realized, or the way it felt to me, is that she was still alive. And so I was reflecting on this about, before, when she was alive, right? And we weren't talking that much, right? But I'm going around my life here in Portland and I'm thinking about her. I'm like, oh yeah, my mom, she lives in Pennsylvania. She's a lot, there's a sense of her that I had, even though we weren't in each other's physical presence or we weren't talking. That was very, very real. And after she was gone, I still felt that. So there was something in that I began to because I've been reflecting on this, like even when something is happening that's like in the world, we're experiencing it internally. We're experiencing it through our thinking and through our thoughts. And so how that kind of ties into what Steph was talking about, we were having a conversation, I think, earlier in the year about things that we wanted, desires, right? And I was starting to see, well, and it's not like I thought it through the way I'm about to say it, but it's like, well, I'm experiencing everything through my thinking. So if I'm desiring something, even though it hasn't happened, I actually have it right now, right? So think about something that you could do that right now. Think about something right now that you might desire for the future. And it hasn't happened yet. It's not current, but you're experiencing something about it. It's alive. Now, this is the part that maybe seems a little radical. When it actually happens, you're still experiencing it through your imagination, through your thought. Even though you say it's real now. But, to go back to the experience I had with my mom, well, according to the way we see life, she has died and she's moved on, whatever happens, but she is still very real to me. So I found it very like encouraging or something because desiring things can often turn into a source of suffering and pain because you're desiring something that you don't have and that you want. And is it going to come? Is it not going to come? Am I going to do the right things to get it or not get it? But if we can see that as soon as we desire something, it exists, it's real, and it is as real as it's ever going to be, even when it happens. It's going to be the same reality. And that just blows my mind. And even as I say that, I know it's partly because it's partly theoretical, like the way I'm saying this, but there was a reality to it. So when Steph and I were talking about that, and then I also realized that what we call desire, like maybe the point of desire is just to enjoy the desire when you have it. And it's like it's something in the moment you're desiring something, something is like instantly fulfilled just by having the desire. So to me, it's really good news around this topic is that desire can be just in itself can be a great experience of joy, love, connection, but also understanding that, we're experiencing our life through something. It's not the physical world we're experiencing it through. Everything that happens, we're filtering it, interpreting it, making meaning out of it inside of us. I mean, to me, that's what the principles point to. Even the physical world, even the physical world and the things that we have or don't have, we're experiencing it all through our internal consciousness. So, um, I wanted to, if it's okay, I wanted to call Melissa because it looked like you were reacting a little bit as I was saying that. If you're okay saying something.
Sure. Well, it just seemed so profound what you were saying. One thing about your mom, but also the idea that just the very act of desiring feels good. Can't quite wrap my head around the fact that because we desire that we already have it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm open to seeing more about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it just felt really good when you were talking about that.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Feel like desire is this beautiful seed that gets planted, that we get to experience the joy of that desire in the moment. And it is creative because as a seed, sometimes, like not everything that I desire in life is something I'll find myself doing. It doesn't mean I'm supposed to do something with it. That's the other piece that this relieves me of. Like, just because I have a desire or I even put it on my list of things I'd love to experience doesn't mean I'm obligated to it. I have to check it off. It's like it's a seed that's been planted and I can water that seed with my thoughts by bringing my attention to it. And life responds and it grows. And some of those little seeds will create things in the external world, and some of them won't. And they're all really beautiful.
Mm.
And I wonder which ones will grow. And sometimes I keep coming back to this idea of all in. And sometimes one of them, I'm like, oh, this one's for me. I'm all in with this one. And to me, that means just showing up with it. It doesn't mean necessarily doing anything radical, but it's like I'm showing up with this regularly and I'm doing and saying and being what I know to be, do, and say to help it grow. Because I want to see what happens. what else is coming up around this? Any questions? Anything sparking for you? Welcome to unmute and share. Yeah, Melissa, hi.
The way we're speaking about desire here kind of feels like manifestation, especially when we think of, the seeds. And if we put our attention there, we could not will them to grow, but nurture them to grow. In the days of The Secret, I was all about manifestation. And I just kind of left it, I didn't spend enough time manifesting. Um, Things just seemed to come anyway. But yeah, I'm just wondering, do you think manifestation is like on par with desire, or is it a little different?
Well, I ask myself, like, what is manifestation? That is, my understanding of it is something coming into being, manifesting, moving from idea into form. So it's a part of what happens in creation. So I think that desire is a part of the mechanism, one of the mechanisms or the forces.
Yeah.
It's thought. It's the creative energy of thought. And it's one form that we label as desire that feels a particular way we agree upon. And it's thought that creates our experience, and it creates our reality, and it creates things in the physical world around us. So that's the connection that I see.
Yeah.
Very natural. Hey, Bernie.
Some things occurred to me as you're talking, and now they've gone out of my head, but maybe as I talk, they'll come back to me. Um, First thing I wanted to say was, Tom, what you shared kind of blew my mind a little, and I want to kind of contemplate that because, yeah, we're experiencing everything through our thinking. So, on one level, the moment I'm aware of a desire, I'm having an experience of it, whether it's in form or not. I think I'm just going to ponder that. The other thing was that with desire, it feels that can be something juicy that we play with, or we can have different kind of thinking about it, which is, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to afford that. I'm not going to be able to get that. I'm right. So we can create a miserable experience from from a desire. That's that's the power of our thinking. I can um yeah, when a desire comes, it's something that I can use to fuel me. Like if I choose to be all in, for example, that's an experience. It's an adventure I can go on with it. I can use it to kind of guide my life. Or I can I can, yeah, find all the reasons why it's not going to happen and therefore have a miserable experience of that desire. So, that was one thing. The other thing is it seems to me that we have more desires that we can probably make happen in form in our lifetime. I don't know. Is that true? I don't know. Maybe it depends. Maybe some people have more desires than others. Maybe some people have a limited amount of desires, and therefore they could potentially accomplish all their desires in the reality of form I'm going to talk about. But I feel as though I have lots of desires, not it's too many for them to um to come to fruition. What I'm getting from this is I can still enjoy every one of them. Like just play with it and see where it goes. And maybe some of them will just naturally fall away. I just was remembering about for many years I had this desire to learn to play the piano because I had a neighbor who would play the piano and I could hear her through the wall. And, I thought, oh, I want to be able to play the piano. And for 20 plus years, this desire was alive in me. I'd hear someone play the piano and oh yeah, I want to be able to play. And I don't know if I had stories about I can't do it, maybe a little bit, but one day I just went to heck with it. I'm doing it. I bought a piano keyboard. I hired a piano teacher. I took lessons. I practiced. And then after 3 months, it just kind of the desire was maybe in one way it was complete. I had tried to do it and it wasn't enlivening me enough. I didn't have the desire to just practice playing the piano enough to keep doing it until I could actually play the piano. And this is 20 years ago now that experience happened. And now there's this thought around that desire hasn't gone. I still desire to play the piano. I have a story. No, it's too much. It's too much effort in terms of learning. But maybe there's a desire to actually practice, so I could get to that ultimate desire of playing the piano. And then maybe that's where my stories have been getting in the way. Maybe if I just sat down and started practicing, I probably had a lot of thinking back then about, oh, this is too much like hard work and this is taking too long. And maybe I was taking myself away from the joy of practicing. Just to give you a different example, when I went to university, I had a desire to not play sport anymore because I just did not enjoy sports. That was my desire to not play sports. No one at university was telling me to play sports. Yes, I'm free. I don't have to play sports. That desire met very quickly once I got there. And then a friend of mine, actually a couple of friends of mine said, hey, we're going to play squash. You want to join us? Just try it out. I went, okay. And we just started playing. And it was just, we were really, really bad at it at the course because we just started playing, but it was fun. So it kind of, that's interesting. There wasn't a desire to learn to play squash originally or to play squash, but that desire kind of grew in me as I started to play. And squash just became a lifelong passion for me. So where did that desire came from? Or maybe it wasn't the desire to play squash, but there was a desire that maybe I wasn't fully aware of to have fun through movement and exercise. I hadn't really tapped into, and maybe okay, I'm just like going with the flow here. I don't know where this is going, but it seems as though that desire I maybe became aware of through having the experience of trying to play squash. Wow, interesting. By the way, squash is a racquetball game in case anyone's not heard of it. Um, so those are some thoughts that came to me, and while you guys were talking and while I was talking.
Well, Bernie, do you have access to a piano or a keyboard right now?
No, I have a keyboard here, but unfortunately I've lost the power cable,
Uh,
but
well, yeah. Well, that's I really like what you're saying because one thing that can happen with a desire we have is like we can have the desire and very quickly the next thought will be, oh, how's that going to happen? Or oh, that's so blah 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 blah, right? But with piano, it's also like you can enjoy playing the piano, and this applies to a lot of things in art too. You can enjoy playing the piano without knowing very much. You can have a really nice experience. Like I have some similar history with you, like at various times, I've tried taking lessons and then didn't like them and then, had a keyboard. But I did learn it like within 10 minutes, you can learn a couple chords on one hand and a couple keys on the other hand that go together, right? So when I house sit for people, cat sit, and they have a piano, sometimes I'll just sit down for like 2 minutes and I'll play like a chord and a couple notes, and I really get into it for a minute. I'm playing the piano. Now, if your thought comes and say, "Well, that's not playing the piano. This is playing the piano," you're only doing it for a minute, but you can be in the experience of this beautiful joy of just the miracle of making some sounds, and you're playing the piano. So find that power chord, and if you need to know what I'm talking about, I'll give you a lesson, even though that's all I know. And this comes up too with art because the same thing, like it's one of the things that I teach and talk with people about, no matter like if you have the ability to pick up a pencil or a paintbrush and put something down, you can have a beautiful experience of making art. Absolutely beautiful experience. And the only thing that can sort of thing that comes in is if you start comparing it to what it should be or what people say art is, or is this good? Is this not good? Am I an artist? Am I not an artist? All those thoughts, again, they're thoughts. Um, people have done like comic strips that are basically stick people, but they touch people. So you don't need that much skill. Anyway,
Yeah, skill and enjoyment are not completely unrelated. I was enjoying playing squash right from the get-go, even though there was no skill involved. And I was just remembering about I went to this event, I don't know, but I remember there was a speaker there and she was like one of the world's top speed skaters, if I remember right. And she talked about how, in when you're at the top of your profession, there's sometimes when things are tough. You're not performing that great, but she loved to do what she did. So for her, just getting out on the ice and just going around and doing her practice loops, that kind of like brought joy to her. So, so I think maybe I think to be really good, I don't, this is not true, but it seems that to be really good at something, it's going to be helped if there's always a desire to be in the process of learning or practicing or improving. So if we can find joy in that, it almost doesn't matter how good we are. We can follow that desire that we have to continue to improve. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but that's just some thoughts that came to mind. I'd love to hear Kate's thoughts on this topic, 'cause Kate always has wonderful words once we open the floor to her.
Well, let's see. I feel like I have um some things have shown up since Steph brought up the topic, and not as much about desire as being all in. Because as soon as she brought it up, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever been all in on anything. That was that's what I heard in my mind. And I start to kind of go back and think about the things I've done in my life and whether or not I was all in. But it seemed to be very subjective, because I was like, what does that even mean? Like, what would that look like if I was all in on being a mom? Would it look like I abandoned myself completely and give it all to my kid? And like, what does that even mean to be all in on these things that I've done in my life? And then a really interesting thing showed up in my writing this morning, just because it's been in my writing, it's been in my thoughts, this idea of being all in. Like, oh, I wish I loved something enough to be all in. Like a lot of things have shown up. But a question popped out of it. And it was, well, can I not be all in? Because either I'm all in the thing that I'm doing and I'm really super present, and that's lovely, even if the task is like my budget or something I don't love, right? But I'm in it. I'm present with it. I'm all in, right? Or I'm all in my shitty thinking about things. So either way, I'm either in life or I'm in my head, but I'm all in no matter what I'm doing. It's like, whoa, can that really be true? It feels true that I'm all in reality or life or the present moment or however you want to say it. Or I'm all in on my thinking and I'm lost in it, right? But I'm all in. Even those times in my life when I needed things to be really small and simple, uncomplicated, right? I didn't want to be all in on anything. I didn't want to even have desire. Just needed quiet, maybe, things to be manageable. But even in those times, I was all in. I was all into making my life small. And Steph would be the first person to tell me that whether I'm playing big or playing small, that it's all life. I love to call things good and bad. right or wrong sometimes. And Steph will be the first person to be like, it's all life, Kate. It's all life. It's all part of it. Right? Always reminding me, always. And I wonder if desire works the same way. Desire to be safe. All the small desires we don't realize we have. I come back to this a lot because I know it's true that we're always getting what we want. We just don't always realize that we don't always know what that is, but we're always getting it. And that feels true to me. Even if it means that what I want is to not have a desire for a while. Of course, that's still a desire. So I don't know. That's a circle. I don't know. Anybody hear anything in that? By the way, hi, Vane. Hi, Nor. Patricia, thanks for being with us in the airport. And Bo. Anybody? Hi. Anybody have anything that came up from that?
I heard something, especially when you were speaking, Bernie, that I wanted to share. It's not just what I heard, it's what I felt. It goes with a little story. I have these experiences. I love to watch performers on the YouTube videos, whether they're dancers or singers, who, I'll give you one example. If you like dance, there's a couple, they're called Brenda and Anderson, who do a style of dance called zouk. It's Brazilian, I believe. It's totally improvised couples dance. And it's stunning. It's like nothing I've ever seen. They start slow. They just connect to the music. And then they slowly start moving, and it gets bigger and bigger. And they are just doing this amazing dance together. And when I watch that, if there's one in particular, every time I watch it, I cry. But that's not the only time it happens. There's a performer called Ren who has written some songs that are just like, there's so much passion in them and in his performance. And I'm like, oh my God, it just moves me. I see these performers, and inside of me, that feeling is, I want that more than anything. And I started to wonder about that. What do I want? Do I want to dance like that? And that was the first thing, like, oh, I want to dance like that. Oh, I want to perform like that. I want to. And as I was listening to you, Bernie, I recalled that. And I noticed that I started to see that it wasn't the form that I wanted, it was the way I was feeling. Such aliveness of expression. And I was feeling it. I already have that. And I know I have it sometimes when I'm moving and sometimes when I'm speaking. And I have it when I'm watching them dance. And I thought desire shows me what's already mine that I don't know is mine. It shows me what I already have that I think I don't have. I think is outside of me. It invites me to see that and have that experience. And that's what I'm asking for me. That's what I want. I see. Thank your hand is up. I'd love to hear from you.
Uh, Actually, can you hear me? I'm on my phone, so I don't know how well that is. It's really funny when you said that because I actually danced Zouk for a couple of years, and yeah, it is now. It's like now I stopped dancing Zouk for it was more than a decade ago that I stopped, but I did it for a couple of years, and it's a beautiful dance, and it's just amazing to watch people really good at it and really into it dancer. And it's also I did it for a couple of years, and there were moments where I was in the flow of dancing was just really beautiful. But back to the to the topic, um, what really when I read this the topic of desire, what always or what moves me right now is this kind of like I don't know if dichotomy is the right word, but between like liking to have desires and being like, do I not want to have desires? Would I be happier not desiring things? And because I think I read somewhere, I don't know if it was in the missing link or something that the Sydney Banks wrote something like desires make people unhappy, or wasn't an exact quote, but I can see that how that sometimes is how I desire things, and also a lot of things have changed because I think it used to be that I always thought like money, success, lots of women, lots of power, lots of all that would make me happy. And there came a point where I realized that that was not true. But that also was a really big problem because then I didn't know what else to look for. Because if I knew that that wasn't it, but I didn't know what else was there. So that was for, I guess, for quite a while a problem because it is, if you chase your whole life after something and you realize that's not the goal, then you're kind of lost because, yeah. And yeah, that's really the what what comes up when I think about desire, this kind of do I want desire or do I not want desire, and how do I deal with it in my everyday life? Yeah.
The thing that occurred to me as you were asking that question, do I want desire or do I not want desire, is do I have any control over that? Like if a desire arises, I don't know where they come from. However, I do have choice how I respond to the desire, or to say it another way, to the thinking that I have about that desire. And sometimes I don't feel like I'm in control of that because that's the nature of thinking. But if I notice a desire, if I then notice that I'm having some negative thinking about it or negative feeling about it, that's something I can notice and go, okay, I'm having some thinking about it. And now I have an opportunity to something fresh to show up because I've noticed it. Or I could just, well, this is the word that came up, ride that desire, be all in on the desire. And just like, this for me is what life offers. It allows opportunities to just be so alive. And I think desire is one of those things that can help generate that aliveness. If I'm like, I'm all in on participating in life, but I'm not all in on the outcome because the outcome, I don't know how the outcome's going
Yeah.
to be. It's having an attachment to the outcome that I think where we can create feelings that we don't want. And I don't know what Sid said, but to me it makes sense. It's not the desire that's the problem. It's how we relate to it. And it can be something that can really enliven my life, or it can be something that I have the way I'm thinking about it actually makes me feel miserable, or somewhere anywhere in between. And that's the bit that when I see it, I have like some choice and control in it.
Yeah, I think that uh, I can partly relate to that, but it's a lot of those things are like difficult to put into words, where you like where you have desires and this kind of you're in between. Like, do I just see them as thoughts that come and go, and maybe I follow some of them, maybe I don't, and at at what point do they at what point are they a game that I play in my life and I just enjoy kind of playing that game, and at what point yeah, do I just kind of see them as a negative feeling that I want to just let pass through. So yeah.
Um, well, one thing that did up is what I've experienced about desire is it's usually something that keeps, well, is that true? But some desires definitely, they just keep coming back. It's like there's some deeper place it's coming from, and it's just going to keep coming up. It's not true for all desires. Oh, I've desire having a piece of chocolate. Like once I've had a piece of chocolate, that desire is complete. But it'll come up again tomorrow. Um, but some desires that maybe have a bigger outcome attached to it, some of those just they seem to be able to hang around or keep coming back for years until we take action on it. Like I'm just thinking me and the piano, like until I took action on it, that desire just was always kept coming back for me.
Yes, and I think there are some things where you basically you just need to do it once. Like some I've always there's I always liked cars, and often dreamed of nice cars, and in many ways, like I drove a couple of nice cars. I bought a convertible, but and it was nice, but especially when I bought that really nice BMW convertible finally, like it was really nice, but for a short time. It's like it uh, it's like I could have probably rented that for a month and it would have been okay. Like, I didn't need to buy one. So that is also something that I've learned, where like a lot of desires you like they blow up in your head that you need to own and things and so on, but you can just rent a nice sports car for the weekend. That and for most people that will probably fulfill the desire, to have one, and more than you actually needing one every day to drive to work.
I think it's so cool that we get to decide what game we want to play with desire, if we
Yeah.
want to play with it and how. There's no one way to be. How do you want to be? What do you want to try?
Yeah. And that also brings up, if you kind of reflect for a second on desires that don't have anything to do with the outside world. A desire that doesn't have anything to do with whether you get something or don't get something. Like what is that? Like if you just have a desire to go through your life in a feeling of peace, freedom. Nothing has to change in the outside world for you to have that. And again, like you wouldn't desire it unless you already had it because you wouldn't know what it was. And if you know what it is, you have it. You absolutely have it. And that doesn't get, what Bent was saying about, things, getting things, and then later they're no big deals. I've had that experience with different places that I've lived. You know, some have been like relatively crappy and some have been spectacular. But even though the one or two places that I would say were spectacular, after a couple of weeks or a month, it just becomes very normal and not a big deal. But the feeling of home, of being at home and what that is, you can feel at home when you're not at home. You're out in your life and you feel at home. That feeling of being at home, I don't think is ever going to be something that's going to be like, oh, well, I had that, don't want that anymore. That's not really that great, you know. So I think it's good to really reflect on maybe, the desires that don't have a waiting period or the desires that don't have anything to do with something happening specifically in the world. And there's a whole universe of beautiful experiences we can have.
Well, I have a desire. I noticed that Noor had his hand up, and I was curious if he still wants to share or was willing to share.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm willing to share. I prefer to share earlier because I was about to start eating, but still meets my need for inclusion. So thank you for noticing. Um, hold on. I think you guys need to see me better. Um, so the thing has stood out to me today, couple things. Stephanie, I'm really interested to. I didn't write down the names of the videos or the people that you mentioned, and I don't know if that's something you could directly message or email the listserv, but I'm like very interested because when you make recommendations, I pay attention. So, um, so yeah, that's alive for me. And then two, Bernie, when you were sharing about your relationship with a keyboard, a piano, was going on for me, and you were like, you ended up doing it, and well, it reminded me of a couple of things, a connection too between intuition and desire, because I've heard intuition described as something that's soft and gentle and not as something that's like nagging or harsh. Um, and like it sounded like it just was a recurrent thing that kept coming up for you. And then you did it. And then the way you described it sounded like you were at peace with the fact that it wasn't something that well, your desire shifted and you were just like, okay, like I feel complete. And as I was listening, I was thinking, I don't know that I would feel that way. I think I would be a lot harsher with myself around like, oh, I started this, I need to like master this thing or make it a big deal and feel like a failure. I don't know, something a little bit more dramatic. Maybe that's my Scorpio moon sign. But anyway, so I was just like listening and I was like, and what I think is occurring to me to connect the dots between different things that was said, including stuff you said earlier, Stephanie and Tom and others, is like just, I think what this is encouraging me is just to be in an attitude of like innocence and exploration and discovery in relationship to desire. like you were saying, Tom, about just like pick it, you know, like pick up the paintbrush or whatever it is and not compare. And so I think that's the main thing I was going to share is I'm sitting with like wanting to be more innocent in my relationship to desire because I think we've all been injured culturally, religiously with a lot of right wrong thinking around desire, which is so heavy. And I think it's contaminated a lot of us. And as I talk about it, I just feel in my own self how heavy a lot of that is. And so I like this Return to Innocence, your favorite song, Bernie. That's the end of my share. Thanks.
Thanks, Nora.
Thank you.
Hmm.
There is something about the purity of kids' desires. And I think as adults, as we get older, we have a desire and then there's thinking about it. And the more innocent we can be around desire, I think the more juicy it can be for us. Hmm.
Very cool. Well, thank you everyone for sharing this exploration of desire and this time with us. It's been lovely. Couldn't do it without you. And we'll come back second Thursday of the month next month for a new topic. If you have one, a request, please do ask. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Good night.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
day.